Right now, a 90-foot steel vessel weighing less than 800 tons is pulling a 22,000 container megaship through a 90-foot wide canal lock. The container ship carries $500 million in microchips, automobiles, and retail goods. Its main engine produces 80,000 horsepower, but inside the tight confines of the harbor, that multi-million-dollar engine is completely useless. Without the tiny tugboat attached to its bow with a 3-inch synthetic hawser line, the giant ship would slice through the concrete dock wall, crush 2 gantry cranes, and cause $50 million in catastrophic structural damage in less than 40 seconds. To the average person standing on a pier, a tugboat looks like a small, chubby little harbor boat pushing barges around a bay. To maritime private equity firms and global port cartels, it is an automated toll booth sitting directly on top of human survival. You do not need to build the massive container ship, and you do not need to buy the cargo. You simply own the small steel vessel that holds the entire ship hostage, charging $3,000 an hour to guide it 40 feet to the left. Welcome to the business of running a private tugboat company, a high-stakes, capital-intensive game where a single line snap can decapitate a deckhand. A single steering mistake can flip a $15 million boat upside down in 10 seconds. And a single salvage operation during a winter storm can net you a $20 million cash payout in a single afternoon. To understand why this business generates absurd gross margins, you first have to look at the extreme mechanical engineering required to build one. A commercial harbor tugboat is not a normal boat with a large engine. It is a heavy steel power plant built around a massive floating block of machinery. Building a modern azimuth stern-drive harbor escort tug costs between $12 million and $18 million before it ever touches water. Underneath the waterline, you will not find traditional fixed propellers and steel rudders. Instead, a modern Z-drive tug utilizes twin 360-degree rotating propulsion pods mounted under the stern. These massive Z-drive units, manufactured by specialized marine firms like Rolls-Royce and Shottle, can vector thrust in any direction instantly. This allows the tugboat to move sideways like a crab, spin in its own exact length, or apply full reverse braking power in less than 3 seconds. Inside the heavily soundproofed engine room sit 2 massive medium-speed marine diesel engines, built by Caterpillar or Wärtsilä, delivering between 6,000 and 8,000 brake horsepower. In the tugboat industry, power is never measured in top speed. It is measured in a brutal metric known as bollard pull. Bollard pull is the maximum horizontal pulling force the vessel can exert against a fixed shore station at full throttle. To test a new tugboat, engineers tie the boat to a massive concrete shore bollard equipped with digital load cells and ramp both engines to maximum RPM. A modern harbor escort tug delivers between 70 and 110 metric tons of bollard pull. That is equivalent to the pulling power of 90 heavy pickup trucks pulling simultaneously at full acceleration. To channel that immense physical force into a cargo ship without snapping the tow line, the tug is equipped with an ultra-heavy-duty hydraulic render-recover winch on the forward deck. The winch spool holds high-modulus polyethylene synthetic lines, which are stronger than solid steel cables of the same diameter while floating on water. The automated winch system measures strain hundreds of times per second, paying out line during heavy ocean swells and spooling line back in to maintain perfectly constant tension. If the winch brake locks up for even 2 seconds during a heavy wave surge, the synthetic hawser line snaps with the force of an artillery shell, slicing through deck railings and instantly killing anyone standing on the forward deck. So how does a tugboat operator turn an $18 million capital asset into a long-term cash printer? The primary revenue stream comes from commercial ship assist and harbor docking tariffs. Every container ship, oil tanker, and bulk grain carrier entering a commercial port is legally mandated to hire tugboat assistants. An ultra-large container ship carrying 20,000 containers cannot steer at speeds below 5 knots. At low speeds, its rudder loses hydrodynamic lift, turning the 1,000-foot vessel into an unguided floating skyscraper. When a container ship arrives at the harbor pilot station, 2 or 3 harbor tugs attach their heavy lines to the bow and quarter. The docking operation takes between 90 minutes and 2 hours. The tugboat company bills the shipping line based on a standardized port tariff schedule. The tariff is calculated based on the deadweight tonnage of the vessel, the length overall, and the number of tugs deployed. Assisting a single large container ship to its berth costs between $4,000 and $12,000 per job. A busy harbor tug will perform 4 to 6 ship assist operations every single day. That generates up to $35,000 in gross revenue per boat, every single day, 365 days a year. The second major revenue engine is mandatory oil tanker escorting. Following catastrophic maritime environmental disasters like the Exxon Valdez oil spill, federal legislation, such as the Oil Pollution Act of 1990, mandated that laden oil tankers operating in coastal bays must be tethered to high bollard pull escort tugs. even if the tanker is navigating under its own steam. The Escort tug runs alongside attached to the stern, ready to execute an emergency indirect steering maneuver if the tanker suffers a catastrophic steering or engine failure. Tanker escorts are billed on hourly standby rates, generating thousands of dollars in guaranteed revenue even when the tugboat is simply running parallel to the ship. The third revenue stream is long-distance ocean towing and heavy barge haulage. Tugboats tow massive deck barges carrying industrial machinery, gravel, scrap metal, and refined petroleum across open oceans and inland waterways. These long-haul charter contracts run for months at a time, guaranteeing $10,000 to $25,000 per day in fixed charter hire revenue. While ship assist and tanker escorts provide predictable cash flow, the absolute holy grail of the commercial tugboat industry is maritime salvage, under international maritime law. If a commercial ship is in grave danger of sinking, running aground, or burning at sea, the ship's captain can sign a Lloyd's open form salvage agreement with a tugboat company. The core legal foundation of Lloyd's open form is no cure, no pay. If the tugboat company fails to save the ship, it receives zero compensation for its spent time, burned fuel, or damaged equipment. However, if the tugboat successfully rescues the vessel and its cargo from total destruction, the tugboat company is legally entitled to a massive salvage award calculated as a percentage of the total saved property value. Salvage awards typically range between 10% and 25% of the combined value of the ship and its cargo. When the massive container ship Ever Given blocked the Suez Canal in 2021, holding up $10 billion in daily global trade, a fleet of specialized salvage tugboats worked for days to free the ship. Imagine a container ship carrying $300 million worth of high-value cargo running aground on a rocky coastline during a hurricane. If a high-powered salvage tug reaches the scene, attaches a heavy towing line, and pulls the ship off the reef before the hull ruptures, the tugboat company files a claim in International Maritime Arbitration Court. A 15% salvage award on a $300 million vessel yields a $45 million cash payout for less than 24 hours of work. This is why commercial tugboat captains maintain continuous watch on emergency radio frequencies during severe sea storms, racing out into gale force winds to reach distressed ships before competitor tugs arrive. However, running a tugboat company is loaded with lethal operational hazards and brutal financial debt traps. The single most terrifying disaster in harbor towing is a phenomenon known as girting. Girting occurs when the vessel being towed moves faster than the tug, or takes an unexpected turn, pulling the tow line perpendicular to the tugboat's beam. The immense tension of the moving ship pulls the tug sideways, heeling the vessel over until the deck edge submerges beneath the waterline. If the captain cannot trigger the hydraulic winch emergency quick release in less than 3 seconds, water rushes into the engine room ventilation louvers, and the $15 million tugboat flips upside down and sinks in under 10 seconds, trapping the crew inside the steel hull. The second major financial drain is astronomical maintenance, overhead, and fuel burn. Operating 6,000 horsepower diesel engines at high loads in saltwater creates relentless mechanical wear. A tugboat burns between 200 and 400 gallons of marine gas oil per hour at full throttle. When global diesel prices spike, fuel expenses swallow over 40% of operating revenue. Furthermore, every commercial tugboat must enter Drydock every 3 to 5 years for mandatory Coast Guard and American Bureau of Shipping class inspections. Lifting an 800-ton steel tug onto a floating Drydock platform, sandblasting the hull down to bare metal, replacing zinc sacrificial anodes, and overhauling the Z-Drive rubber seals costs between $700,000 and $1.5 million per boat. While a tugboat sits in Drydock for 3 weeks, not only are you paying massive shipyard repair bills, but you are also losing thousands of dollars a day in uncollected harbor docking tariffs. Add to that high crew payroll, paying experienced harbor captains over $200,000 a year and chief engineers $180,000, and insurance premiums for protection and indemnity coverage. And fixed operating costs can choke a small fleet during shipping slowdowns. So why doesn't every wealthy investor buy a few tugboats and start undercutting the competition? Because the commercial tugboat industry is protected by massive legal and regulatory moats in major commercial ports worldwide. Municipal port authorities grant exclusive or limited operating franchises. A new entrant cannot simply show up at a commercial harbor and start offering ship assist services to arriving freighters. They must secure an official port franchise license, which requires proving 24/7 operational coverage, carrying $50 million environmental liability insurance policies, and maintaining a minimum standby fleet size. Furthermore, global harbor tug operations are dominated by a small cartel of massive maritime conglomerates, such as Svitzer, Smith International, Moran Towing, and Crowley Maritime. These massive operators sign multi-port global service contracts with giant container shipping lines like Maersk, MSC, and Hapag-Lloyd. If a container line signs an exclusive global fleet contract with a major tug operator, Every ship in their fleet is obligated to use that tug company in every port worldwide, locking out independent local tug owners completely. The next time you see a small tugboat working alongside a massive container ship in an ocean bay, remember what you're actually looking at. It is not just a small workboat, it is an $18 million floating hydraulic engine, a legal prerequisite for global supply chains, and a high margin cash machine that holds the ultimate key to ocean commerce. If the delivery trucks stop, grocery store shelves go empty in a week. If the harbor tugboats stop, global ocean trade grinds to a complete halt in less than 48 hours. And that is the business of running a private tugboat company.